Nightmares often show you your biggest fears. For Woody in the Toy Story movies, his biggest fear is to be a lost toy. And in Toy Story 2, he has a dream about it, a nightmare. Can this dream be interpreted? Can we and Woody learn anything about Woody or ourselves or nightmares by interpreting this dream? I think we can. I think it would be fun. So let's do it. Hi, my name is Karen, and I dream a lot, and I like to study and talk about dreams and dream interpretations and do dream interpretations for people. Feel free to comment below if you've had a dream like Woody's or if you have any thoughts about Woody's nightmare. Early in Toy Story 2, Andy is playing with Woody and Woody's arm gets torn. Woody has been preparing to go to cowboy camp for Andy, and just before they're ready to leave, this happens. So Andy's mom puts Woody up on the shelf and Woody falls asleep. Now, being on the shelf is not a good thing in Toy Story world, so that's already upsetting to Woody. He falls asleep and then he has this nightmare. In the dream, Andy comes home early and sees Woody, starts playing with him, and then he sees the arm again that is torn and he's like, I don't want you anymore, and he drops him, and Woody falls through the playing cards that the toys were playing with earlier in the movie, and he falls through the cards and lands in a garbage can full of disembodied toy arms. And then all the arms pull him down into the garbage can and he's sinking down into the arms. And then he wakes up and the torn arm is around his neck. Really short dream, and short dreams can be just as scary as long dreams, and short dreams can have a lot of meaning in them too. So let's look at this one. I like to look at the different items that are in a dream and look those meanings up, or consider what they might mean, to me or to the character in this case, because we're thinking about what does Woody think of these things, right? So in this case, kind of using a dream dictionary is a fun tool to use. So I use dreammoods.com. There's a link to that in the comments down below. And the first thing we look up is cards. There's playing cards on the ground, right? So part of the idea of playing cards is that there's not any stability. So the phrase a house of cards, and if you build a house of cards, it all comes tumbling down. And there is that imagery in the dream that things that Woody thought were stable, that he could count on, he can no longer count on. And so when he falls through the cards, there's that idea of everything's falling apart. And that's definitely how he feels. And this is early in the movie, so we haven't yet seen everything that's going to happen in the movie. So there's a little bit of forecasting when they put this in the movie, and that is sometimes how dreams work, though I tend to downplay the forecasting way that dreams work in real life, but in movies they are used that way. And so it's kind of fun to see separate the dream meaning from maybe what the writers were intending. So the writers are giving us a little foreshadowing that everything's going to be topsy-turvy pretty soon, and that's how we see the cards being all topsy-turvy. What's interesting is they all have the ace of spades. Now, the ace actually, according to Dream Moods, does represent troubling times. So an ace represents troubling times, and actually in some places an ace of spades kind of symbolizes death. Now, I've talked about in other videos what it means when something is dying in a dream, and it doesn't mean that the person or you are going to die. It's actually that something is passing away. Something is going away, and we don't know it at this point in the movie, and Woody doesn't know it, but there is going to be something passing away. There's a passing away of his old life, because by the end of the movie, there's going to be new people in their room, in Andy's room, in their community. So there is a little bit of passing away here. So it's kind of fun to see that you can see something that might symbolize something scary in a dream, but it actually can have a positive meaning. And that's what I like about dreams. And that's why I like talking about dreams, is letting people know they may not be as scary as you think they are. The cards also represent troubling times, and the movie is about a troubling time that Woody has, and so the dream is kind of forecasting, but he's already troubled. So dreams tell us what we're already worried and concerned about. And in Woody's world, he's troubled right now because Andy didn't take him on the trip and he's up on the shelf, and so that's troubling to him. Cards also represent the ability to strategize, and what's really cool about that is that everyone in the movie is going to strategize to rescue Woody. Woody is going to strategize and help his friends, his new friends, Jesse and Bullseye and the Prospector, but Andy's toys are also going to have a strategy to come rescue Woody. So the ability to strategize is a clue for Woody that the dream is giving him about a strength that he has. Another thing that dreams do is they tell us what our strengths are. So when you have a scary dream, if you look up some of the meanings, it might be giving you some things that you have as strengths. So in this case, the ability to strategize. Now, the core piece of the dream, of the nightmare, is that he is falling. And a lot of people have falling dreams. They're very common. Nobody likes them that I've ever talked to. And I actually did a whole video on what it means when you dream about falling, and that'll be linked in the comments, in the description below. When he's falling means that you feel unsupported. You feel like you don't have any support. You feel like you don't have anywhere to land. You don't have nowhere, again, back to the House of Cards kind of imagery. There's nowhere to stand. And Woody definitely has, like, all of a sudden, he's not with Andy in a time when he would always be with Andy. He's not with Andy, so he's not feeling supported by Andy. He's not feeling where he belongs. He's not where he is used to being. So, of course, he's going to have a falling dream. And, of course, that's what happens when we have falling dreams, is that we often are feeling like we're not supported, that things are out of control, we don't know what's going to happen next, and we need a safe place to land. So that also helps us see how dreams, just like in movies and just like in songs and poems and artwork, dreams are talking in symbols. So if you can understand that they're symbols and not literal, that kind of takes the fear out of them, especially when they're weird and you're like, that was really strange. Well, but what is it saying that's symbolic? And then it seems not quite so strange. After he falls, he's sinking down into the arms and sinking again. He has a very sinking feeling about what just happened to him. Just continuing the same imagery of falling, not sure where you stand, sinking down into this new thing. And the dream, the writers, or the dream as a movie tool, is also kind of showing how Woody is about to sink down into some big situation that he has no control over, right? He's getting ready to be stolen and go be in this other apartment, and how is he going to get home again? So definitely a foreshadowing of things are going to be really different here. He's feeling overwhelmed and has low self-confidence, and those are definitely the things that sinking can also feel like. Arms in dreams, according to Dream Moods, can mean a lot of different things. Now, this is because arms are very common, and Dream Moods collects meanings from a lot of cultures and a lot of people. And one thing about dream symbols is, while yes, there are some kind of general things that things always mean, like butterflies can always mean change, right? But that's not the only thing that an item can mean. So arms can stand for a lot of different things. So I went through and picked out some of the things that looked relevant to this particular situation, relevant to Woody as the dreamer. And that's what you want to do when you are looking up your dreams in a dream dictionary, is think about what's relevant to you, what resonates for you. So in this situation, not all of the meanings of arms are relevant, but there are a few that are. Another thing we can learn about interpreting our own dreams by looking at this one is that how you feel in a dream can help you decide what a thing means. So in the dream, he's scared all the way through. He's not happy. This is not good. So these are all kind of unpleasant, not positive feelings. So when you look up arms, there's some things about nurturing and caring, but there's also a meaning about struggles and challenges. And so how to know, well, is it that I'm caring, or is it that I have struggles and I'm in challenges? You look at what you're feeling in the dream. If he were feeling really okay about being dropped into a can of arms, then I would tend towards it's telling him he's going to be nurtured, or he is nurturing. But because he's not very happy and this is very scary, I take it to mean that the arms represent struggles and challenges. And they do. He's getting ready to go through some struggles and some challenges, and he's actually facing a big one right in this minute. It's bad enough that he's sitting up on the shelf. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. Most toys that sit up on the shelf don't ever return. So he's really in a challenging place. He doesn't know that it's going to get even harder. The challenges and struggles are going to get bigger as the movie continues. But what I also wanted to look up, well, what does it mean if you just see an arm? Like, it's not like an arm attached to a body. Like in this case, there's a whole bunch of arms and they're disembodied. Well, that represents powerlessness. And definitely he feels powerless. I don't think that the writers purposely picked all of these things. They picked an arm because his arm is torn, and that's what put him on the shelf. So they're picking arms, and plus that's kind of icky, and so a bunch of arms pulling you down. And often that's kind of what happens when people write a dream. they kind of think of things that are the most obvious maybe of what's happening. But there is often a deeper meaning. And in this one, we can see that the arms represent feeling powerless. They represent struggles. Now, I mentioned a minute ago, they can represent nurturing. And actually, I do think that we could use that meaning too. Because again, back to the idea of where in the dream is it giving you a tool that you can use or a strength that you have. And this is a place where everybody does reach out and give each other a hand, right? They all do help each other. They all do nurture and take care of each other in the end, because Woody rescues Jessie and Bullseye and Stinky Pete, and all the other toys rescue them. So there is this kind of idea of giving each other a hand and pulling each other up. So I kind of like that. And then there's the garbage can. So what does a garbage can mean? And a garbage can often means unwanted. Right? It can mean unwanted thoughts, unwanted feelings, feeling unwanted just in general, and definitely, again, Woody is very afraid that Andy no longer wants him, so he feels unwanted. What else is interesting is that that kind of is a theme in the whole movie, is the toys feeling unwanted. Not all the toys not Buzz and the rest of them, but definitely Jessie and Stinky Pete and Bullseye, because they've been in these boxes, and they're kind of wanted, but they're not wanted by, well, actually, Stinky Pete was in the box. Jessie had a human, and so she does have a sense of feeling unwanted. So she kind of mirrors that feeling in Woody, and she kind of shows him one possibility of being a lost toy, of being unwanted. Back to nightmares showing you your biggest fears, and this is definitely a nightmare showing Woody his biggest fears. So Woody's dream is about loss of support and loss of confidence, and it's telling him he's facing some struggles and challenging times. It's also telling him that his ability to strategize and his caring nature and his friends will help him to make it through these troubling times. One thing that I like to talk about when people share nightmares, and we can do it here and tell Woody, so when Woody wakes up, what is something he could do about this nightmare? And what can you do if you have a nightmare and you're like, well, I don't like that, and I don't like the feeling, and I know I'm in a struggle, and I'm not looking forward to having to deal with this thing, or I don't like feeling all this fear or all this anger, because that's what nightmares do, is they show us these feelings that we have, right? You can reimagine the dream. It's as simple as that. So what you can do is either just sitting down, imagine in your head, or you can do it in a journal, you can write it out, and you just either play the dream forward. So in this case, if Woody wanted to play the dream forward, because he wakes up when he's been pulled down into the garbage can. What if he goes back into the dream and then imagines that Andy comes and pulls him back out? It could be as simple as that, and he just imagines Andy picked him up. Or he can imagine something else. He can imagine that all his friends come and pull him out of the garbage can. Or he can imagine that the garbage can and the arms all turn into water, and he swims back up to the top, and then he goes back onto the shelf. Or he can imagine that all of the arms are suddenly flowers, and he's on top of all these flowers, and the flowers rise up and take him up to the top again, or whatever. It can be however silly or light, but you can reimagine your nightmare. You can change the ending, or you can go back in and even be like, well, let me go to a certain part in the nightmare where it wasn't scary, because sometimes nightmares don't start out scary, everything's going fine, and then they get scary, right? So you can go to a midway point in the dream and then change what happened, like in your imagination or on a journal. You can decide. So there's the beginning part of even Woody's nightmare where he is happy, he and Andy are playing. Let's say Woody decides he wants to go back to that point in the dream because it felt so good to be with Andy and Andy be playing with him. But then with the part where Andy says, oh, you have your, he looks at his arm and he goes, your arm is torn. Instead of saying, I don't want you, what if Woody reimagines it that Andy says, oh, let's fix this. And then he fixes it, because he actually does fix it. Woody could imagine that as part of his rewrite of the nightmare. So if you ever have a nightmare, try that trick If you do, let me know. This dream is a falling dream. I do a whole video about what it means when you dream about falling, so it's more than just feeling unsupported. And I talk about in that video, if you land in the dream, does it mean that you die? And so you'll have to go watch the video to find out the answer to that. So that's the next video. Please like and subscribe. You can follow me over on Instagram at Caryndreams. And thank you for watching this video.